All right, so I've brought in a tail, and now I've brought in a plant element to help augment my tail. Cut it out. Kind of run it on the core here to help with the color, help with the texture. Just make it a little bit different. And remember some of the skills that we were trying to learn with assignment 2. Okay, so now I'm going to use my eraser. And I'm going to blend this in, much like we did with the landscape elements. Play with a low opacity. Start figuring out the shapes I want to keep. Blend these elements together. Play with the levels. Really limit the highlights here. And I'll probably play with the saturation too. There's no other green on the creature, so. Deaden it a little bit. And now with the color balance. I actually like that dark shadow at the back. So what I'm going to do is transition this directly just with the soft eraser. Blending it in. 100% softness, I think. That's going to allow me to use a lot of that shadow without having to keep that edge. And then another feature that might help to blend it is instead of just using the pixels as they are, I can try a different blending mode. So instead of just taking the opacity down, that actually helps quite a bit, about 50% opacity. I could also try something like use it to darken. So set it to a darken mode or to an overlay mode. That's quite helpful with the shading and the coloring. And then I can play with the opacity from there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Now take my eraser to 100%, get rid of some of this debris that came in with it. And I think I am nearly ready. to bring it into my landscape. It's going to play with the color balance of this background tail a little bit more. There we go. And then maybe burn it a little bit more at this back end as it comes over that leg. And for good measure, go ahead and dodge a little bit of the knee in front. Midtones, not the highlights. So they feel like they're lit slightly differently. All right. While I'm at it, I can use my dodge and burn, darken the head a little bit, help that fit in. Just feeling a little overall light. And the arms. In certain areas. And then the highlights of the feet. You can burn those down because you don't usually have highlights on the feet. So I have just improved my my second project, which is always a good idea. But that will make assignment 3 a whole lot easier. To have confidence in these decisions. So now what? I don't like that. All right, now I save it. This is assignment 2. Finish PSD file. Then I turn off the background and I save it as a PNG. Just like I did to turn it in. And this could be a resubmission. Oh, let's see. Yes, I'll give it a new name. So I'll save it as Creature Composite Resubmission. Because I want to get the best possible grade on this project to the desktop as a PNG. And I like to see your progress. So when you do resubmissions, I don't want you to erase your old one or drag it to the trash or delete it. I want you to keep it in there so I can see the changes. This is what I mean. We go to PhotoBucket. I'll show you how to label your resubmissions. So I bring it in. And I'll use the same titling convention, but instead of a number, I'll say resubmission. And then it should be the third thing that shows up. Oh, that's not it. I just inputted the wrong one. It's up here. The importance a silhouette makes. So by the end of today's class, you might have already improved upon today's assignment 2, and it helps you get ready for assignment 3. Especially cleaning up any debris that's left on yours. So instead of putting number 3 on this, I'm going to say resubmission. And I'll know that that's the latest one to grade. And then when I see them organized by title, they'll come in that order. So I'll see your sketch, I'll see your initial submission, and then I'll see the resubmission and what changes it made. And I think that made improvements, not just on the tail, but on the burning and the dodging and bringing it all together. All right. Now that we have that, we can close this. And if I'm being really picky, which I usually am, I'm going to go ahead and burn a little bit of this clone stamp too. Not dodge it, burn it. That bugged me a little, that difference. And I might even clone stamp it a little bit more. So that's kind of the biggest problem with digital work, is it's very, very hard to decide when you're actually done with something. Okay, so file save. Now, we'll learn later in the semester how to make that print worthy if we want to print that for a portfolio. Okay, now, to start assignment 3, I go to my assignment 1 Photoshop file. Once again, I'm going to open it with Photoshop. And then I'll bring in my new PNG, newly cleaned up and refined. Bring it on top of everything. And as I'm thinking for where I want to place it, with that tail, it already looks more balanced. I think I just might go for a straightforward, put him right in the middle here, have him standing on these rocks. And I'll show those adjustments. You can play with his scale. You can play with the rotation. So I want him to stand on these rocks a little bit, and since the footing's a little uneven. Find the place that fits him. And now I want to look at things like the lighting and where his feet are actually touching and how I can make that more believable. And I certainly want to look for anything that's just feels off. In terms of any debris that was left or things that need to be cleaned up. So then I've placed it. It's a smart object. I'm going to make a duplicate of it, and I'm going to right click and rasterize it. And that allows me to do little transformations that I can't do to a smart object, like warp the tail, warp the foot, just slightly to get his feet to sit on this surface a little bit better. And I can see, is that better than this? And it is. He's not leaning as forward. Right, and then to really sell the illusion, we will learn next class how to play with the lighting to make it match, play with the coloring to make it match, put him in under the atmosphere. You can see there's a lot of it there that I could use, but how much of it do I want to use? And really just sell this illusion. But I want you, when you're placing your creature, the creature should take up at least 20 to 25% of the composition. So we're not trying to hide the creature in there. And you can keep making duplicates and trying it in different places, trying it at different scales. So you should use a smart object for that. And it's okay to have a little bit of it cropped off, but not a lot of it. And I kind of like him down there in the water. So those are the decisions we want to make for next class. All right. So now the really important, when I close this, I want to save it as a new name, assignment 3, and I call this the Creaturescape. So you don't overwrite assignment 1. And save it.